Hi again, this is Mr. Ford, and we're going to go through central tendency, which is just another way of saying averages. Okay, so whenever we're talking about central tendency, we're actually talking about one of the three things that you've done since year 7: mean, median, and mode. Now, these are all averages. They are used in different scenarios for different reasons. One is not more important than another, and that's the first thing we're going to talk about. But before we get there, you'll notice some of our symbols. I'm using MO for most because mode is the most common value, which you should recall. Median, you'll notice the symbol there, and you'll see this coming up. Median because it's the middle value. So when we put it in ascending order or descending order, it is the middle value. And then we've got the mean. Now, mean's more difficult. Now, I was going to put a little frowny and angry face, but really, I want you to recall mean as this here, which is known as x bar. X bar means the mean of x. And to find out the mean, what you do, it has to be, to be able to do it, since you're going to sum all the values, it has to be quantitative, okay? Because you need quantities, you need numbers. So what you do is you sum all the values and you divide it by the total number of values. Now, median still has to be quantitative because we need it in ascending order. And mode is the only one that can be used with nominal data because you can have qualitative data that is ranked in this way. Okay, and it's useful in that case. It's useful for other things as well, but it's very useful for nominal data. Now, what we're going to first do, before we even think about doing the actual calculations, we're going to talk about some advantages and disadvantages of them, because they're very, very important. So since there's three types of averages, they all have their place. They have their own positives and negatives. You will be required to understand this to be able to pick what you'll be doing in your calculations, in whether you're doing a science subject, geography, psychology, and maybe even business. Now, let's have a look. So mean. Mean is one of the most common ones that is used. It can only be used for quantitative because we're doing an actual calculation. Um, but a huge advantage of it, and a huge advantage is the fact that it takes all the values from the data set. So it takes everything and it will give you a very accurate value back. There is a problem though. One big disadvantage is the fact that it uses all the values. So since it uses all the values, if you have any anomalies in it, it will actually skew the data. It'll skew it high or low. We're going to talk about skewing in another video. Okay, depending on. So if I had, here's an example. If I had a bunch of results, 2, 3, 3, 2, 3, and 11, this actually gives us a mean of 4. But that's higher than almost all of your values, all but one. So that's not a good use of mean in this case because the 11 skews everyone else's results. This is also important for payroll. If you do payroll of a full company, you're going to have some people right at the top will skew your results. Just underneath this, I've got some notation. Some notation that you should have already seen the sum of. So this here is sigma. This means sum of x. So sum of all of the values of x. You've got your x bar, which represents the mean of x. So therefore you have a formula where the mean of x is equal to the sum of all the x's divided by the total number of results, n. Very useful for writing a formula in a lot shorter terms. So that is our mean. Very good because it uses all values, but bad because if you have any massive outliers, it's going to skew your results. Then you have the median, and as the picture says, it's the middle number. Make sure you have it in ascending or descending order. This can be used with any data that can be ordered, including ordinal data. Okay. Advantage is it's easy to calculate for small values and is not skewed by extreme values. A disadvantage is that it only relies on the middle numbers. It doesn't use the majority, it only uses those two middle numbers to give you your median. So the rest of the numbers lose significance. And the larger the data set, the harder this is to calculate. So if you have really large data sets, it's actually something you shouldn't be doing. Anything over 30. Then you have mode. So the mode is the most common value. So what comes up most common, most frequent. So it's the only type of average that works for nominal values. Advantage is it's not affected by extreme scores, and it's the only measure for nominal data. A disadvantage is that it relies on repeat scores. Some things, especially continuous data, is extremely hard to get continuous. Okay, and sometimes it matters on the data will change what actually will be your average. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through some questions here, and then you've got some questions yourself. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to look through these here, looking at the data that we've been given, and we're going to come up with a average that we can use. So what's the appropriate measure for Central Tennessee? What average would we use for the height of 50 students? Okay, now because we've got 50 students, this is slightly higher. Because we're talking about height, which is continuous, I would be saying to use the mean. As it's going to give us, so it's continuous, so it's going to give you an accurate result. I can't spell continuous. And you'll be able to go through, okay, because you've got continuous data. Okay, so you've got continuous data. Yeah, I need to fix that. So you've got continuous data, and basically, yeah, it's going to give a very accurate result. Number B, an observational study to find out whether 2-year-old children play with others or play alone. So in this case, we've only got two main options. It's going to be others or play alone. I would actually say the best option here would be mode, because we just want to find out what comes up most often, whether they're playing with others or playing alone. Now you might have different ranges here, how it's going to be done, but that's really good. Okay, next one. A psychologist gave 6 students 30 seconds to write down as many parts of the brain as they could remember. 1 point was awarded for each correctly named brain part. So there's two ways. So first off, this is actually going to be ordinal data. Actually, no, sorry, it's going to be discrete because you can only get 1 mark each. Okay, so there's 6 students. Okay, so you have a choice. It's either going to be median or mean. So some students are going to get really, really good and get to results. I would actually say this is median. 2 reasons. One, if you do mean, you're going to get decimal values if it's not divisible by 6, and you can't get a decimal out. You want actually this is discrete. And the other point is this is going to reduce if there's one person that's really good at it, okay, or really bad at it. So it's going to reduce that. So it's going to reduce your outliers with such a small survey. And how popular are types of flowers? Data was acquired from looking at flowers that were bought in the supermarket on Saturday morning. The flowers available were daffodils, roses, lilies, tulips, daisies, and mixed. In this case, we actually can only have the mode because now we have nominal data. Okay, so since this is nominal data, you'd straight away use the mode. It's the only option you have. Now there's a couple for you to try. I want you to give them a go now.